Hey everybody, it's Steve with Sky 194, and I appreciate you taking the time to visit and check out my video. And we're here at COTA in the McLaren 720s, and this is definitely going to be something different that I haven't done in a while. So I hope you all enjoy the video. Hopefully, I can, can you guys, we can go learn something together. And basically, I'm going to try to do a setup and show you how I do a setup on the McLaren. One reason I picked the McLaren is one, I've been saying for a while that I was going to do a setup for it, and I just haven't gotten around to it or gotten one started. Um, so I figured it'd be a good car. Plus, it's new to not new to me, but I haven't really done a lot with it, especially recently. So it's as new as any other car on here, really, GT3 car. So I figured, well, that's kind of a number, another reason to do it. And then the third reason is I signed up. I have a race with Pan Am as I'm recording this video this coming week, this Saturday, and it's a 90-minute race. So basically, in an overview, I want us to go through and basically make a setup. See what we can get out of it, and then of course in another video, I'll be doing the race, and I hope you come join me for that video also. It won't be all one video, but it'll be, the race will be separate, but it'll be with this McLaren with the setup that, we basically got done with. So this is kind of a from A to Z type thing. So I'm going to try to cut some of the fat out of this video as far as a lot of the just running around the track, so you guys don't have to just sit there and watch hours of that. So obviously this is condensed, so and I can go over that in each section as I go through. But that way you maybe watch a lap or two or something like that, the highlights of it, and then we'll go into the setup, and then we'll start talking about what we're doing in that. And that way it'll shorten the video by a lot, and y'all don't get bored just watching me run around the track. So at least that's the idea. I mean, again, your feedback is critical. I don't know if you would like it that way, or if you're interested in these kinds of videos. I haven't done one in a long time, so I just kind of I've had some feedback as far as some of the comments have been saying, that they would like to see me, how I, my ideas on how I make a setup and things like that. So again, I'm just trying to share that with you all. So, and also that way you also maybe can adjust your car to your conditions, and you can get ideas how to do that. And that's another reason, because you're every time you can have a setup that's dialed in as best you can, but you have to be able to adjust little adjustments here and there. You just have to, because with ACC, track conditions are constantly changing, weather conditions are changing. Even when it's an optimum or fast or whatever, there's different variations of fast and optimum, also depending upon the temperatures. So you might have a car dialed in for optimum, and then you get to a track that's optimum, and it's not as good as it was when you did it. And you can't figure. You got to be able to adjust little adjustments so you can get the car handling to those track conditions, those specific track conditions. So again, I'm hoping that as I'm doing this setup, and I'm gonna go over a lot of different things multiple times, you all can get ideas from that and help you all to adjust whatever you're using in your races. So I hope that helps. So again, this is definitely going to be some not, I wouldn't say uncharted territory, but I just haven't done any of these in a while, and I'm really trying to keep it shorter. So it's still going to be long, but definitely not near as long as some of the other ones, and I try to be as precise as I can. So let's get started. And where I get started, basically, where I get started is basically the aggressive setup. If I don't have a setup already, which I don't for this track with this car, and that's another reason. That's the reason I also picking a McLaren, because again, I don't have. I've been saying I was going to have a setup for the McLaren, and I haven't come out with it, which is my fault. Just time and other cars that I like better. And then second, and also like I said, just it's more the newest to me as I can be with all the other compared to all the other GT3 cars. So that way we're kind of learning some things and as we go. But again, the first thing I want to start off with is the aggressive. Now, if it's a car that I've already had a setup here, I just use my latest setup. My setup, obviously, I don't go back to an aggressive. I just use my latest setup for that track, and maybe I can do another video on that to see where we can pick up from that. Maybe I can, that's another different car, different video, but basically, that's how I do that on those circumstances. But with this one, when I don't have a setup for this particular car for whatever track, I usually just start with the aggressive, and I run a lot of laps to try to get used to the car. Also, because I'm getting used to the car too. What I mean by that is getting used to the car of what gears for what corners, things like that. Just the basic stuff and what it likes and what it doesn't like. And then I try to keep tweaking on it and getting the dialing tires in and things like that. So I'm taking, obviously the tires have to be dialed in with their pressures and all that kind of stuff, and the brake ducts and all that, which we'll go over in the setup. But like I said, we'll go ahead and make a lap. And it's going to be really difficult because this setup is for an aggressive works really well. I mean, I'm really happy with it. As you see, my fast is a 7.29. That's not bad for me, not for my pace. Now I got like 55 liters in it. Basically like a sprint type setup. Whether you're doing like a Pan Am, a 25-minute race, or even if you're doing the 45-minute, you're usually right around that, that 55-liter mark. It could be 60 to 50 usually, and you got to make a pit stop in the 45-minute. And you can see it's really, really solid going through here. Turn in isn't as good as I'd like, and I got to turn the wheel more, even though I got it turned all the way down, so that's kind of a disadvantage. I got to turn the wheel a little more than I like, and so that's another thing. I think it needs some more turn in by far. Again, speed, it's better than the Porsche, but its speed is not as forte down the straightaway. Yeah, 157, which is, it's down a good 3 miles an hour. Average is probably 159 to 160, and like the Aston Martin or something, I think does 161 or something like that. So it's down a good 3-4 miles an hour on the straightaway, which that's secondary. Again, I look at lap times. I don't really worry about what the straightaway speed is. If I did that, I'd never drive the Porsche ever. So I'm looking for a race setup. Not a one-lap wonder. But I want to see what it can do with the aggressive. And like I said, it's definitely a challenge because this thing is, I think it's running decent for my pace for just an aggressive. And you see it's a 207.20. And I had really a teen in there, but I just lost a little bit. So you might even be able to get near a 207 flat. Really, if you nail the lap. Now, of course, it was down to 35 liters by the time I made that lap, but I started with 55. So again, I still think it's I think it's decent for me. Well, let's go again. Now this is the aggressive, so we're just gonna take a look at it, and you can see, it does have some negative toe in the front, which again helps the turn in, but it doesn't have enough. It definitely doesn't have enough because the turn in is, doesn't react as quick as it needs to. Now it's got maxed out on negative camber, which that's not that bad. Got a decent amount of positive toe in the rear, something to look at. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't look bad. Electronics are normal. Fuel, of course, like I said, I had #1 brake pad. Now, if you let's look at the tires. You look at the tire. Now, this is not the only stint that I've done. I've done multiple stints with this. So, I just like to get it as the cooler temperatures, and but yeah, I've already done lots of laps with it and other segments. So, but if you look here, you can see it's got good wear even. Now, I'm getting really picky, but I mean, the left front's wearing a little faster than the left rear, but it's not a major. I wish this was flipped. That would actually be probably perfect if this was flipped, and this wear was here and this was down there. Especially for a mid-engine car. Now, this almost really looks like a front-engine car because it's got a little bit more wear on this front tire. So again, something to look at. It's not a major deal, just something small. But that's something I noticed that I looked at that I would like to correct and improve upon. But again, it's going to be a challenge. And I mean, it's going to be a challenge of how much I can gain because it's not bad for me. I mean, for me to get a good gain, I'm gonna have to be up near my personal best with this. So, again, I'm gonna have to work really hard to get a good gain on it. I'm really impressed with the aggressive. I think it's one of the better setups that I've driven as far as drivability and things like that. We look at this page, the mechanical. One thing on the brakes for what the car is, kind of like the Porsche, which is a very great handling car. I'm a little disappointed in the brakes. The brakes don't. I mean, it's just a little bit down. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just not where I'd like it to be. I would like a little bit better braking performance. You look at here, and again, it's kind of like it's tuned for a front-engine car. I mean, you look at the springs, and the spring is way softer in the front than the rear. And look at the bump stop. I mean, the bump stop's super high in the front and real low in the rear. So it's got some things that I'd like to try. A lot of this I'd like to change and try and see if it would be any better. So again, there's going to be a lot of failures there because it's the only way to know if it works is to try it. Let's see. The rear end doesn't have a lot of diff in it, which is okay. I would like to try a little bit more. I don't think it likes a lot of diff, so I would just like to just creep on that. It's not like I would like to go crazy with it, just a little bit more. But other than that, it works good. So as far as the shocks, they're just in the middle of the road. I mean, not bad. We'll take a look later. We will take a look at Motec. I did record it, so that's another thing. I changed the electronic. I put that in there, make sure that we recorded it. So we'll take a look at Motec also, maybe even with when we look at another one. When I do some modifications, but. Again, so we'll have to look at this. But, again, I don't worry about shocks in the beginning. It's just there's too many other things to look at. The balance of the car, is what you have to look at, and this part of the setup, and there's so many other areas. Shocks really come in more as the balance is getting closer and closer, then you start messing with the shocks. And, of course, then I'm messing with them every time. Keep dialing it in, keep dialing them in and keep making progress on that every single time. But, I mean, in the beginning, I really don't mess with it for the first few, sessions with it. As far as here, I look at this, and, again, it's not bad. Front aero variation is 7.5 to the positive. And let's see, you got the front end's not bad. Ride heights all look good. Now, I would like to have a little bit more speed out of it, just a little bit. I mean, I know it's never going to be top speed or great speed down that straightaway unless I take all the handling out of the car and drop the wing way out. And I don't want to do that. I mean, that's not how I do. I like drivable packages that. Most everybody can drive, not just an alien. So again, maybe somebody can drive one with really low wing and it's super hairy crazy, But I mean, I like something that you can do lap after lap. And of course, I have the 90-minute race, like I said, here at COTA on Saturday in Pan Am, and I want to be able to basically, push it as hard as I can every lap. You got to have it's a 3 pit stop race, so I got to do 3 pit stops. So obviously I'll be stopping like every 20 minutes. So, because I mean, the first leg, of course, you start off fresh, and then you got to stop every 20 minutes after that. So, you're going to go probably every 20 to 30 minutes. You're going to stop for a pit stop and get tires. So again, I want it pretty much where I can go as hard as I can every single lap. So that's the idea anyway. Um, but again, this is really good. It really and I'll show what I changed from um, the aggressive. Which again, everything here, the only thing I changed was tire pressures, and this is what I do every time. I mean, you have to dial the pressures in, which it took multiple times to get them right where I want them. But these are the pressures that I'll start. We will start off with. I did not touch this at all. Nothing here at all. Fuel, of course, I just put it to 55 liters, and I put it the #1 brake pad on it. Um, that's what I changed there. The steering ratio, I put it all the way down because, and even then, I wish I could go down more because it just doesn't react as quick. But we'll do some things to maybe help that a little bit. But yeah, I just turned that all the way down. And as far as the shocks and here, the brake ducts, I think were just that way. I don't think I adjusted them at all because they're fine. We might take a look at that, but and try to, because that does make a little difference. Nothing major, but from what I understand, and I've heard this from Aries, it's only minor. But if the less brake ducts you have, you get a little bit more downforce. So again, it's minor stuff, but I look at every area. I try to maximize everything, especially something like this that's already speed-wise is down to other cars, kind of like the Porsche. So I try to do that to try to maximize every bit of speed down the straightaway that I can, but still have good stability. So again, with the wing, we'll have to take a look at that. But again, I didn't touch anything here. So that's the only thing that I do, and I do that on every setup. That way, the basics of the balance and the alignment and all these things are all the same as the aggressive. I don't do nothing. I just want to basically see what I can get out of the car, and then go from there. So we'll do this, and now we will go and make some changes, and then basically see what we can start this project, so to speak. All right, well, reset the practice session so we could start off fresh as far as um, the temperatures and stuff. So let's go ahead and reload the setup. So I'll put this back. It's #1. And again, I'm not saying I do things the best way. This is just how I do it. So again, some things you can pick up, some things no. But again, I kind of go off of um, hitting broad, so to speak. Um, Doing a lot of things, and I know that's really not the way to do it, but I've been doing it so many times that and time is always against me. So as far as how much free time I have to be able to do stuff and to be able to get anything done, sometimes sometimes it ends up working out really well that way, and sometimes it doesn't. So it can go either way. But again, it's just how I do it. But I'm not recommending to do it that way. I just how I've done it over. I mean, how many hundreds of setups I've done. So I don't know how many I've done, but it's a lot. So from all the different variations and cars, and from all the different updates. So anyway, usually I start over here at one end to the other, but I'm just going to start at the arrow this time. Um, basically, I'm going to turn this down um, and try one. I'm going to try to get a little bit more downforce there. Just again, it's just minor, but I really want to work on the tires to see what we can optimize. I'm going to go knock this down one also. So I'm going to take the brake ducts down to one, and we'll come to the tire pressures later and adjust them accordingly. Let's see. This I want to leave alone for now. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. It's 3 up from the bottom. So again, I'll probably leave that alone for right now. But the first thing I usually do anyway, and that's why I usually start on this page here, is I really want to see what the car does with fuel. So basically, we only have 55 liters, and as you can see, it comes up 1 on each. So it's a very, not too bad of a difference from 7.5 to the positive of 7.2. So that's not terrible. They both come up 1. So that's, that's really good. That's, right there at the probably top of the field somewhere as far as balance of the car. So again, you don't have, but I look at that because, in a race setup, you want to be able to, you might have to adjust to that. If the rear end's coming up, of course the front end won't come up unless it's a Porsche, but it might come up 1. But a lot of cars like the AMG, certain ones won't come up at all. So it's just, again, you want to see how that all works out. One, I would like to do some small adjustments and just see if we're going in the right direction. So I would like some more turn in. So again, I'm just going to raise it up 1 click in the rear. I'm going to go down 1 on the wing. Let's see how much. That's another thing I check. I usually see how many adjustments it has. It's got 8, and it was at 6. So let's see this again. Let's see how much it changes. It's a decent amount, 8 point. So we'll try it there, and see what it does. And then let's see. Again, I don't mess with shocks. Mechanical grip. I'm definitely going to put the brakes down to 55 and start off there. So definitely leave it there. There's a lot of things here that I don't like. Lots of things here. Again, I hit things with a broad stroke and see what I like, and then start adjusting things back from there. The front end doesn't have as much grip as I want it to have. And look at all the spring it's got. And when you have all this spring in the rear, it's pushing on the front. So, the more spring you run in the rear, it's another adjustment to transfer weight to the front. And you can't look at the slider. You got to look at the numbers. So again, you might have the thing all the way over, especially on like the AMG or other cars. You might have the thing maxed out on the rear, but it's still way less than what the front is at not even near the same adjustment. And that's as far as the slider. But the numerical part is way higher. So again, those are things that you got to take into consideration. But another thing that hurts the grip is all this bump stop rate. So again, this thing's got a ton of bump stop rate in the front and hardly any in the rear. But you see how this is a softer spring and this is a stiffer spring, but this has a lot less bump stop rate. So, that's a little opposite of what I like. So again, I'll leave that alone for now, but that's going to be my next big adjustment. I'll leave this alone. Again, I might try that. I like to try to more TC to see if it works, but we'll try that. The main thing here is this is what I really want to get to. One is the tires, and one is some of the other adjustments. The toe, I'm going to knock this up to 2.5 because it needs more turn-in. And as far as the camber, I'm just going to take a couple out because it, as you can see here, it has 4 as far as the spread, and I like to keep it around 3, but it might not like that, so we might have to go back. But again, I'm just just trying to see how this will work out. I'm pretty sure I won't go any less than that, just because I don't think the McLaren, I think it likes more negative camber anyway. As far as this here, I'm just going to go down maybe 1 click, and that's it. And to get here with the toe, I'm going to take a little bit of this toe out. It makes the rear slidey when you have a lot more positive toe. You get that slide, so I'm just going to take it down to 1. We'll try that. Let's see. Oh, and the tires, because we knocked those down. So I'm going to take like 4 out of each one. There. I'm going to take 0.4 out of each one, since I took 1 brake duct out. And we'll try it. It might get too hot. It might not. So, in this first one or second one, we're only going to do a few laps anyway. That's another thing I want to do. Here, I want to raise the diff up just up to 80. Let's just try it up to 80. That's 3 clicks. Again, I'm not doing anything else here. I'm going to leave everything else alone for right now, but the brake bias is down to 55. The preload on the diff is 80, and again, that's because I want both wheels digging at certain times, especially this corner right. Well, I was showing it. Right there was it. It seems like it wants to oversteer right there, and I think one wheel is spinning more than the other. So again, I don't want to make a huge difference because I don't think it wants a lot of diff. But let's just try a little. And of course, here we made some alignment changes, and here we made a wing change and just 1 click on the ride height. So, and then what I do is when I start making adjustments, I go ahead and make it another setup because I know that I'm going to be working on that. And then what I can do is, if I use this for racing, which I'm going to, then what I can do is, so I don't ever mess with my setup. Once I make it a setup, I have a way to adjust it, tires and brake ducts and things like that, or any other adjustments, and not mess up my base setup. So again, that's really important, because then if you mess that up, then you've got it all screwed up. So once I get a complete setup, I'll never mess with that and override it. I will always go off of something like my, something else that I've made up for an experimental, and leave that base one alone, so I can always go back to it, after the race or another starting point. So that's just how I do it. I recommend doing that so you don't get messed up.
Green light. Go, go, go.
So again, maybe this one time here just to see. We'll do a few laps. And again, I'm going to try to keep it to like 3 laps or something. So again, in the beginning, I do short 3 or 4 laps to keep things, just to see if I'm going in the right direction. And then as I go, I'll try to run longer and longer. And then once I get to set up where I think it's done, I'll try to do a 10-15 minute stint at least, to see how it goes. And of course, another thing is around this corner, see how it handles going around here. That was good. Because before, it kind of felt like the Aston Martin, where it just wants to snap on me. Going in that turn 1. Feels like it's got more turn-in, so that's good. Oh yeah, see that was a lot better. That's even on cold tires. Yeah, I need a little bit, like I said, a little bit more rotation, a little bit more turn in. better for cold tires. Running wide here a lot too. Oh yeah. Afraid if I put too much diff lock in there, it's gonna mess up that turn one, but so far it feels even better. Tires are still cold. They look pretty good though, the tires, I mean. We'll see how the pressures, if they come up where they need to be. Running a little wide there.
Not many personal fastest though.
Not bad. Yeah, a little bit too deep. Yeah, messed that lap up. It's too deep. Don't matter. Just want to keep the heat in the tires so I can see what I can do this next time. Yeah, we're not gonna, when I'm doing these, again, I'm not gonna have you sit through all this. I'm just doing it this first time. But I will probably show you like a lap or something. That way y'all can keep up with what it's doing and the changes we made. Feels better through there. That's the diff for sure. Because before it felt like one wheel was just spinning going through that section, that other section. Tires are coming up right where they need to be. Not perfect, but front seat to come up just a teeny bit. Bad. Blew it.
Well done, mate. This is me, Russell Best.
And front seat about another click. Better. Hoping to gain a little more than that. Probably too sideways on that one. You can see the rears are getting a little hotter, but the fronts are not hot enough. So, need to make an adjustment. And it's still not rotating like it should.
Well done, mate. Russell Best.
Yeah, about the same time. So, let's go back. You see the front to rear, again, it's still understeering some because I could feel it. Plus, the front's running a little more temperature in the tire. But that's a little tight. So let's put it back where it was. But this is still about 3 degrees from inner to outer. So we'll leave it there as it is right now. But it definitely needs, this actually needs to come down a couple clicks to get it more, because it's up near right near 28. And this needs to come up a couple clicks. It's too low. So that pretty much takes care of this page already. That's all I want to adjust there. Again, I think this is actually, the preload works pretty well right there, so we'll leave that. Aero-wise, I think it does better with the other wing. I think the back end is a little bit too nervous, so we'll put the wing back, but we will raise the rear up another click. Okay, so you see a big difference. That's another thing. When I'm doing a click on each one, I'm seeing what kind of difference it's making down here. So as you can see, that's only 1/10 of a percent. So I mean, it's not that big of an adjustment to raise the rear, but the front is a lot bigger. So what we're going to do, we'll put the rear back down where it was. So I'm going to leave that right there because we lowered the front, and as you can see, we were at 7.6, now 8.4. So it's a pretty big jump. So we'll leave it right there and try that. So again, probably go over shocks here soon. I definitely want to change this. I think I'm going to lower the springs down one click. We're going to do that. That's to get grip. One, it's not pushing as much weight forward, but the problem with that too is you start getting some of those slides, and that's a lot of spring in the back. So I'm gonna just take a little bit, just one click out of that, and I want to do some bump stop rate and range adjustments here, but I'd like to get the balance a little bit closer. So I will go make some laps, and then we'll come back and see where we're at. All right, well, I ran my personal best. I don't know how I did that, but we'll go over the lap. But I want to go over the setup first because it's got all the info. If you replay it first, it doesn't save it. So tire pressures were good. I actually need to come up. I'll come up one in the rear. These are where they need to be. I mean, they probably cool down a little bit. So, but again, the pressures are looking good. Still a little bit more heat in the front tire than I want. So again, we're still building up too much heat in this left front. So that's something that we're gonna have to definitely look at because what'll happen is it'll end up falling off really quick. So I'd like to get this a little closer. It's not terrible, but it's needs to be closer than that. And of course it's both sides, as you can see this side's higher too. So it's again, it's 3 degrees here and 4 degrees on the other side. But yeah, the changes we made really helped it out a lot. So that's definitely in the right direction. So again, going down in the front was definitely the right way to go. But again, it still needs a little bit more rotation. And another thing, I still think some of it's in this package here with these bump stop rates and stuff like that. I think that's some of it, but I'm just guessing. So we need to look at that also. So we're going to take a look at shocks and mechanical and go there and see how that goes. But see, the wear's better, so that's a good thing. So the wear, we're going in the right way because you can see now the temperatures are up, but the wear now is equal on both sides, where before it was a little bit more to the front. So actually that's good. But of course I didn't do more laps. I didn't do too many laps. So again, but I think we're maybe going in the right direction. Even in that, just need to keep inching up on it. So let's look at mechanical. It's definitely going to be different. And again, we got looking at these springs. Let's see the next spring down. This one here, I think I'm going to leave alone for right now. I want to change the bump stop rate first. So we're going to leave the front spring alone. But we're going to definitely drop this bump stop rate down for sure. usually on mid-engine cars, I mean, I usually am between 500 and 700 in that range, so I'm just going to pick 600. Um, and I'll leave the bump stop range where it's at. And then here, basically going to go up a couple and shorten this bump stop range on the back. And what does that do? What that does, it limits the rear end, what it squats in different ways. And you can, again, you run a softer spring. It kind of helps, helps with that. But also it keeps the back end stable in that one corner, whichever corner, from pitching down on that corner. And of course, if the car goes to that corner, it's gonna want to understeer. So you don't want much movement there. Um, so I'm gonna knock this down to like 20, and I'll have to try it. Spring wise, a lot of times I check and see what So you can see it's getting close there. You got 166,000 there and 170,000 there. So again, I think I'll try that this next time. Especially since we upped the bump stop rate here in the back, so we'll try that. I'm gonna go one more click on the anti-roll bar. Again, that makes the rear end rotate. So again, we'll just do one click on that because I can't get it to. I don't want to try to make it rotate off the wing. That it needs the wing, especially in these S's. You got to have it. So I don't really. We tried the 5, and I really didn't care for it. I like the 6 felt by far better, and again, especially for consistency down the road. So how else can we get the car to rotate? Well, I mean, you you can do a rear spring, and again, it's the combination of everything. That's how everything works, is the combination of doing one thing and then trying to offset it some doing something else, and getting that combination just like a lock, trying to get the combo right is how you get the car to feel just right and to perform. So again, the spring, taking some spring out will let the car not rotate as much. But again, it's a smaller adjustment, but also it'll help grip in the back end. It'll help the car get, the drive and things like that, because it'll able to get the grip and not be so stiff. So again, we might have to go back the other way, but again, I try to try different springs to see if it helps or hurts. Again with the sway bar, that's to get it to rotate, mainly mid and off corner, not really much going into the corner, so much as it is more going in the middle of the corner and coming off the corner. So of course, with the ride height, that just it makes a difference all the way through the corner, but the big difference is corner entry, or the car reacting. Let's say a chicane where you go left and right. The more ride height you have, the quicker it's going to react. So again, going through Barcelona, or I can't think of any other chicanes really quick, or like Donington. It's not really a chicane, the S there, but I mean anything right left really quick. The more ride height you have, the more it's the faster it's going to react. Of course, you got to watch it, because it reacts too fast, you oversteer and the rear end comes around. So again, it's finding that balance. It definitely did good this last time, but we need to go over the shocks. Oh, let's look up Motec. Okay, so this is today. Let's look at yesterday, which should have been right. That's 20. Where is it? As you see, I got a lot of McLarens, doing different stints and stuff. I think it's this one. Let's just look at this one. I wanted to look at the stock one. So let's look at the stock. Okay, so here's the stock one. Again, adjust it so I can get the better view on it. So let's go up to 10. Okay, so you're looking at, this is the stock with my lap with the 7.20 lap. It doesn't look terrible. I mean, it's a little off. You're looking at 50.9. You're looking at 49.1. You're looking at, yeah, I mean, it's close. It's not bad. Just needs some adjustments. A little off here on the bump. But I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, I've seen worse than this. So again, that's good. I mean, that's nice to see that it's fairly close. So let's, of course, it should be the same with, because I didn't adjust anything on it. Let's go to this one. This is my lap. And again, see, the bump doesn't look too bad here. So again, the bump doesn't look too bad, but the rebound is a little high, and the bump's a little high on the rear. But again, nothing really bad. So again, let's take one at a time and adjust it. You're looking at almost 51 here. So we need to bring this down. So I'm going to go a couple clicks on both the fast rebound and the rebound, because this all needs to come down a little bit here. So all needs to come down. This is 48, 49. So again, that's not real bad. But I'm just going to come down to one click on both to get this to come a little bit better graph. Over here, you're looking at 50.5. So again, this needs to come down just like this side did. I'll make the same adjustment. And then on the right side, you're looking at 48, 49 something. So again, I would come down just one click. In the rear at 48.7, and this needs to come down also because it's just one click though. I don't want to go too drastic because it's already low, but sometimes you go down below and then you bring it back up. So again, sometimes you got to go back and forth, and as the pace changes, this changes. So again, you're kind of a dog chasing your tail. It's like I said before in many videos. It's like tires. You're constantly, the slower you go, then your pressures are dropping. If you're going faster, your pressures are coming up, and you're constantly making adjustments. So it's just one of those things. It's an endless battle. Over here, it's 51.3. So this definitely needs to come down. It's too high all the way across. Definitely way too much. So I'm going to drop 5 on each one. See if I can get this to come down, this whole thing. This is 50 right here. So again, just minor adjustments. And then this one is about 50. But again, just come down a few clicks. Looks like it's going to be a little bit different than that one. Not as much. Maybe just a couple clicks on each side. On each bump and fast bump. So that's, again, pretty much every time we come in, we'll probably be going over Motec, because it's just, you're just constantly changing it, especially if the pace is changing and you're changing other things. It's like we changed, the bump stop rates and ranges and so we changed a good amount of things. So basically, I did that. Oh, I need to adjust the tires to the right tires. So again, we softened this up in the rear, but we stiffened the bump stop rate, and the range dropped dramatically. The bump stop rate, of course, we dropped down. That'll help get some grip in the front. So we might get some oversteer now. So, I mean, again, we got to see how it goes, but that'll get some more grip in the front. And of course, we changed the shock some. And of course, we did the sway bar. So we'll try this, and let's go watch the lap. Again, I did the way and that's how I usually do it. I usually do that, and then I watch the lap, and then I can go. Then I'll start going out again because I don't want to lose that information from the previous laps. So again, just hit the replay. Jump in the car. And I even messed up one turn. So you see it rotating faster, more linear, and it's not pushing as wide, understeering as much. It's just turning. I went through here too hot, right through here. See, I had to really let off, so I really blew that whole section right there. I hit this just right. And I almost thought I went out. So, I hit that just right to get a good drive through here. That really makes a difference. And I hit this corner just right. It really did really good on the lap. Some of these sectors. I still wish I could, it's not as bad, but I still turn the wheel too much. I like it to react. I don't like to have to turn the wheel that much. The speed, I almost hit at 158, so that's a new high. And we even have the same wing as the aggressive, so we got up to 158. That's just getting a better drive. Plus the car is a little lower. The lower you can run it, you can pick up a little bit of speed that way also. Not the best through there. Still feels like it's understeering a little bit through there, but it's better than it was. I said 206.41, so really good gain. Again, I'm pretty sure that's my personal best. I'm pretty sure by about a tenth of a second. So we'll do some more laps and see what we can come up with. All right, just got done doing a bunch of laps. So let's go ahead and go over to setup. Didn't slow down. Let's see. You see the temperatures coming up too. The pressures are coming up. Again, bring them down a little bit. Starting to get a little tight there. Still 4 degrees difference. Still 3 here. So it didn't change what I wanted it to change. And this is, for some reason, it's gotten even a little tighter. So that's, as far as the spread here on the temps. Let's look at the tires. We got some light graining now. So we got some light graining. Tires were even, and this is the most I've worn them down. You can see these are not as worn down. I ran a little more laps, but they're even pretty much all 4 corners. All 4 corners are pretty much even. So that's pretty good actually. But light graining, that's kind of weird too because I didn't even change the spring in the front, but I did change the bump stop. So again, we'll look at that. Other than that, everything, it felt like it had a little bit more rotation, but it didn't produce the times. It was close, which we'll go over the times here in a second. like I said, I lowered the pressures down a little bit. We might have to adjust this again. Deciding what to do. I have to change this. So let's up this. Let's go up to 800. Let's try that. And let's see what it does when we add a little bump stop range. So going over some of these curbs, maybe it doesn't get as upset. Let's put the spring back to 184,000, but leave the bump stop rate alone. So we'll leave this alone for now, but we'll change the wheel rate or spring back up. Of course, it's still lower than what it was in the aggressive. Aggressive it was here, so still lower than that. But let's just try that there. This seemed to work pretty good, so I will leave this alone. Let's try. Let's do this. Let's take this out and add one more in the rear ride height. Let's just do that. See if that helps it at all. Because this track has got so many of these tight corners, you know, in that last sector and things like that. You really need the car to be a scalpel in certain places. So again, you know, the ride height makes it turn that much faster. So let's see. Let's look at Motec again. See if, even though I didn't run as fast, let's go off of that. So that's still over 50, but it's come down some. You see that they've come down, look a little better. So again, I think I'm going to come down a couple more on this. And this one is 49.4. So again, that's not too bad, even though we just went down one click. I'm going to go down one more click on this part. There we go. Have a little bit smoother graph down through here. Here we got 49.9. So again, it's really close, but I need to lower this down a little bit more. And here is 49, just a little over 50, so it's not real bad. But again, I'm just going to go down that one click. Let's look at the rears. That's 51, so this definitely needs to come down. And this one's 48.9, so again, just one click. Just trying to get this to be a smoother graph. This is 49, a little over 50. And again, I'm adding these two together, and that's 49.7. So again, this is 49.7. And again, I like it around 50, as close as I can. So it's not too bad, but again, I'll just come down one click there. So again, we'll try that. Then I'm going to have to reset it because it's already been, I don't like to go much over an hour because the temperature's already coming up, and you're just chasing stuff really, you know, a lot as far as the track and pressures and all these kinds of things. So again, we'll have to reset. I will do that. But again, just made again some small adjustments. Something we got to keep an eye on is the negative camber. Might have to go back up. I don't know, but we're gonna leave it here for right now. Of course, fuel's the same, so I'm gonna reset it anyway. Of course, here we put the wheel rate, the springs back up one click, and the bump stop rate we went back up to 800. So kind of find a medium, happy medium. But we also increased the bump stop range a little bit, so it goes over the curbs without upsetting the car, just a little bit, just to help it a little bit. It's still pretty tight. It's trying to get the balance front to rear the way I want it. And of course, we adjusted some on the shocks too to coincide. But like I said, you're always adjusting it, trying to keep up with those. And the aero, of course, we did take one click out of the anti-roll bar in the back, but we added another click on the ride height in the rear. So we'll see if that helps any. So again, let's go do that and see what it does. All right, been making some laps. Let's go over the setup. Of course, I reset the practice session because, like I said, it was getting to be getting hotter. I did come back because I only went out and did a few laps and could tell it was oversteery. So I put this back down to one. Click this down one, and put this back up one. The anti-roll bar. But actually, I like it. I think we're gonna have to do adjustments on that. It's still now it's doing a little bit of that oversteer coming off the corner, but going in, it's still understeering. It feels like it's sliding. It's not gripping. Let's look at the tires. See, there was a. I did go off the track once too, so that didn't help. Excuse me. Got a frog in my throat. Let's see. We got light graining on the front, but the wear is still even. So, what I'm going to do is let's see what we got. See, it's for some reason it's getting tighter, and it wasn't doing that before. It's only 2 degrees now. That's a little tighter there. That's only 1 degree. So we're getting closer to neutral. I mean, it's getting closer and closer. But still not where I want it to be. I'm going to take this back out. So we're going to take this rear sway back out. Because the rear end was really good before. Now it's getting to be, it's too oversteery. But I want to take one out of the front. So take one out of the front. And again, that helps get the car to turn. Especially the slow corners, which this has many. So maybe that will help with that. It does help going over curbs too, because if you got a really stiff anti-roll bar, it upsets the car more because it's so stiff in the front end of the car. So that does help a little bit, not huge, but it does help some. I hate to do any other changes because I just put this back and took that out. So we'll leave that alone. Again, like I said from before, I took a click out of this and put it back down. So I will leave that alone. Let's go one more click on the diff. See if that helps at all. And let's go over Motec. I ran a 206.6, so still like 0.2 off of what I ran before, but let's see what we got here. We got 49, a little over 50 still, but it's not bad. I like the graph. It looks a lot better than what it was. This is still not really 49. This is like near 50, but see how look, it's still kind of. So we'll come down a click on that on each one. It's still kind of, this needs to come down here, and this needs to come down a little bit more gradual instead of this choppiness thing. So we'll leave that. This is 49. It's a little over 50. So again, this needs to come down. I'll go one click down. And this is 48. It's 49, like 49.5 or 6 or something. Again, I'll go down one click again on that, just like I did on the other side. Let's see, this is just a little over 50, so it's not really bad, to be honest. But I'll go down. We'll try one click down on each, because you can see where it comes up like this. It's not smooth all the way, or not smooth. Doesn't go like this one. Like, see how it goes down and then comes up. It's just kind of like a ladder, like going up steps. Then it's got this big jink in it right here. So we'll just go, like I said, just go down one on each. This is 49.9, so again, really close. And I will just go down one click again. Here's 49, it's 50, so again, that's right on the 50. We will, again, go down just one click on each one. And this is 50. So again, a little bit better than this left side. You can see where it's got a little bit better. Might go down here. It kind of goes up and then there we go. Go down like that. Okay, so let's try that. So, what do we got? So we got pressures are pretty good. Still kind of confused of why we had a good spread here on the front. Now it's tighter. It's getting tighter. So not really sure why it's doing that. So we'll see how it goes this time. But we might have to do some adjustments. I haven't changed the front spring yet at all. It's still the same as the aggressive. I mean, if you go down, it goes down pretty far. Let's see what, let's go up one click and see what it does. It's kind of messing around. Let's see how that works, because I lowered the bump stop rate, but then I stiffened up the spring. Because remember, this is a lot different rates. I mean, the spring has the rate on the spring is linear. The rate on the bump stops is instant. So instead of a linear curve, the bump stop rate with these are just straight up. So again, that's, we'll run a little stiffer spring and see how that works, and a little bit softer bump stop rate. So let's try that. That might help in some of the slower corners. And I'll take you with me this time. Come along for the ride. I said I don't want to do this too often because it just really adds to the length of the video. We're going to be really long anyway. wants to oversteer a little bit there, but tires are still cold. Do. Better. Corner, you lose 2 or 3 tenths easy. Better there. Get a decent lap. Oh my goodness, way too wide. That is sliding. For some reason, this rear end is just wanting to slide. It might be the diff. That was really touchy on the brakes there. If you just even touch the brakes to try to pull the car in a little bit or something, the back end just slides right out. better, but still needs to do a little bit better through there, but that's better than before. Take the brakes down to 54. Do that for a couple laps. Turning a semi-truck or something. This thing, you gotta turn the wheel so much. Whoa. It really didn't help. Let's go back. Still needs just like one. Leave that the way it is over there. 3. Let's see, now it's back up to 3 spread. So that's better. I'm gonna take some of this out, the rear. Take some of that out. Again, trying to keep it from the rear end from sliding, especially if you trail brake a little bit. I'm going to go up one more in the wing and one more in the ride height. So let's just try that. And then the diff, I'm going to bring back down to 70. No, I'll leave it at 80 where we had it. So I'll leave it at 80. Let's look at the tires. And they're wearing even. So I like to see that. All 4 corners are wearing even. No graining yet anyway. So that's good. I'm going to leave the front where it's at. Just trying some different things to see if you can get more aggressive with it, with the wing. Especially in the brakes, because the brakes, it just seems like it brakes okay, but if I go anything under 54, then the back end just wants to slide. It doesn't want to. So again, that makes me want to believe we got too much rear spring. But I'm going to go back down. I'll leave this alone. Try to put some more speed through the corners, so that's going to make the front end a little bit more pressure on the front end. So let's try that. laps. The feel of it with the softer spring in it. Looks pretty good. I like to put as much ride height as I can, especially here at this track, because these tight corners that, you know, they're coming back on itself. I need this thing to turn really late and fast. Especially when you got to turn the wheel as much as this thing is. Lose a little bit here. Too much. Bad for first lap. pretty consistent.
Well done, mate. This has been your personal best.
Go to 54. Gonna mess that up a little bit. Trying to see if it's gonna make the back end slide. Mess that up a little. Staying consistent, I'll say that. I think it was a little bit more consistent than it was before. One more. Better. Nice, blew the whole thing right there. Oh. Well, still close to my Delta, but I had a 30. I had my personal best, and the Delta there just blew it. So let's go back. Let's see. The tire spread looks pretty good. Got 3, 3, 3, and 3. Still about 2 degrees difference. It's not real bad. I mean, it's better on both sides, actually. Down 1 there. Let's see. Let's look at here. Look at perfect wear, no graining, and look at the wear. It's absolutely perfect all the way, all 4 corners, exactly the same. So that's good, because just for the reason of it should hold its consistency. I mean, it might have a little fall off, but it should have very good consistency. The car's balance should stay relatively the same. And I think the time wise, it would probably be, if you run good laps. And here it's so easy. One little mistake. I mean, it doesn't take nothing. But I mean, if you could, it's on you, because at the car, you should be able to probably be within a half a second of your personal best the whole stint. So that's not bad. I'm getting where I'm kind of happy with it. There's still some things I want to try, so we're gonna still go over some things. I want to look at that video too. Just look at the speed. But see, it felt a lot better. It was turning better. But I had to put another click of wing in it for it to hold it. Otherwise, it doesn't like it. Let's go with Motec again. See how things look over here. And it's on our best lap. So we're looking at 50.6. So again, I'm just going to go 1 click down because it looks really good, but I'm just going to go 1 click down there. 48, a little like 49.3. That's not bad. And see, it's getting smoother here. It's not as jacked up as it was before. I'm going to leave that alone. That's 48. It's like 49.5. So again, see, that's not bad looking. It looks good. And this is a little over 50. So again, I think it needs to come down just like 1 click. Both of them do, really. It's got a pretty big jump, so let's just do that. See how it steps up, way up. I'd like to see this come down a little bit more and this come down to meet it. That would be good. 49, a little over 50. Again, it's got that little step there for some reason. But let's go down a little bit on that. This is 50.2. So again, I'm going to go down a little on that. This one is 48, about 49.4. Not bad. This is a little high, but this looks perfect. So we'll just drop maybe this a little bit. And then this is 50.6. So again, this needs to come down. There we go. So again, we're just inching up on it. This I'm going to leave alone. I think it's really balanced well. I'm kind of learning with the McLaren here, just for the fact that what it likes and what it doesn't like. I mean, I'm going to try that. We'll try that. Take that little bit of negative toe out of there and see how that goes. But again, the rear end seemed a lot better between, basically taking the sway bar out, taking some of the toe out, and of course the big one is adding a wing. But we did add another ride height. So again, that makes it turn in better and all that. So again, when I did that with the 6 wing, it was oversteering. It was too much. So now with the 7 wing, it's we're down at 7.8 for the very front aero variation. So again, but it's the balance is different. I mean, we only had 7.5 when it was aggressive. So it's not that big a difference, but the big difference is it's just the balance of the car, how you can go through the corners and things like that. So let's go look at a lap. Let's go look at that lap, which is 16. And of course, it's a custom livery I have. I'm sure y'all figured that out. Really nice. Of course, me and the Gulf colors. I like the really cool looking colors, but not a lot of great. Just a few nice ones for the McLaren, but I could have done better through there. See how it looks through the S's. Not bad. This is a critical corner here. You can make up so much time through here. And see, I could have done better through there. But it's so touchy, if you cut it too much, you get it out of bounds. So it's just so tough to get it just right. Let's see what the speed is. Oh, 158. That's what it was before. So, and it's still a mile an hour more than the aggressive. And it's just because we're getting a better drive going onto that straightaway. So we're actually getting another mile an hour, even though it had 1 click less wing. So, I'm good with that. Again, the wing on the McLaren, it does make some difference, but you can see it's got a pretty good diffuser on it too. So I like it because it's really solid, and I'm doing the same laps over and over. So as you can see, I know that was out of bounds, but still, it's just barely. But you can see, out of 4 laps, I mean, they're all within 3. That was the worst lap right there. That was like 3/10. I mean, there's a 1/10 of a second right here on that lap. If I would have had it here, that would have been a 49. There's a 1/10 of a second right there. So again, look at that one. That's a big one. 295 compared to, there's another couple 2/10. So the time's there. It's just, again, you just make one little mistake. But again, I want to get consistency because I could tell before that it wasn't as consistent. I would gladly give up a tenth or so, tenth or 2/10 if the thing's hitting the same number all the time. So, and I think it'll do that. That was just my mistake. But here, I mean, you're looking at within a few hundredths of those 3 laps. So that's really good. I mean, I think we're getting pretty close. But we'll come back, and I got to reset this. Reset it again, and we'll come back and do some more testing. All right, well, I've been making some laps. We're going to go over a few things. Probably conclude the video here, as I think the setup is where it needs to be, at least for right now. And, of course, I probably don't have double the time of this video, but probably, at least I say probably an hour or more off of it anyway. And this video is already probably, I'm not sure, but it's probably going to be close to 2 hours. So that's pretty long. I hope you stuck with me, and I hope you enjoyed it. But let's get back to what I was doing here. Of course, we changed this on the negative toe back, and I decided, first of all, when I restarted the game to get my temperatures back where they need to be, I went ahead and went down one here and one here. And that's what I went out, and man, it felt really good. I mean, you can see my front aero variation went up to 8.4, and I really liked it. But it just, I think it was a little bit too much. It was too much oversteer. Now I could have probably gone down 1 or 2 clicks here and tried that, but I just didn't, and I don't think it would work anyway. So not with this much wing. You got to have a little bit of ride height in the back. So, and especially with the diffuser back there, I don't want that. You go over some of the curbs and you end up hitting that, and it slows you down by 2-3 tenths just because you hit the curbs. But it felt so good too, but it just wasn't producing the times I wanted. So then I came back, and all I did is go back to my original setting, but I increased the toe on the back here to just, it was 0.05, and I went to 1, to 0.1. Just a small adjustment. Again, that's a minor adjustment. Nothing huge. So I did that, and I ran a good time, but still the back end still wants to, it's still at times the back end does not like trail braking. Again, this McLaren, it doesn't really like the trail braking. It goes into a snap oversteer. So you got to be really careful, especially that turn 1, because kind of like the Aston Martin, it just wants to go into a snap oversteer. Other than that, it feels really good everywhere. But there's a couple things I wanted to adjust, and then I'll make this a setup, and of course it'll be where I start from, and then we'll learn more in the race. And I'll go ahead and make this a setup, and if we make any more adjustments, I can update it from there. But I think, again, to turn in, I still rather have it at 0.25 because it just helps a little. Here it's with this track with COTA, it's just those really sharp turns that you have. You got the 3. Well, is it 3 or 4? No, it's 4. 4 really sharp turns that you're almost coming back, on yourself, and you need it to turn in very fast, but you don't want the back end like you do in turn 1 to go into a snap oversteer. So it's really touchy, and you're really trying to balance that. But I think I like that better because I can't get as aggressive as I want on the front end as far as ride height, because again, the ride height, if I go aggressive with this, it just doesn't work. So an advantage of this also is if it rains, a little bit of rain, it won't be a big deal. Again, the closer you get down, then if you get into a rain event, you're going to be, oh crap, it's going to be, oh, now I'm going to be hydroplaning and stuff. So it's you can maybe do it for a qualifier to see how it would work there. But again, I kind of like this setup. Just gives me a little leeway in case you get some rain, especially in an hour and a half event. Um, so again, we'll go over each page here. And again with the toe, this is something I might go back to. I think I'll go back to the .05. Again, it gets the rear end from sliding. I might go back the other way, but for right now, I think I'll go where I was. So everything else though looks good here. So we got 25.6 left sides and 25.8 right front, 25.7 right rear. Toes negative .25 with the camber at negative 3.8, caster at 8. Toe on the rear is positive .05 with the camber at negative 3.2. So we're going to leave this as this right here, as far as not change it for, we'll make this a setup, and then I can, in the race, we'll see how it goes. Of course, 3, 4, and 1. I'm not going to do anything there. Fuel, I really didn't even need 55 liters, but I went ahead and, I'll probably start off with 50 in the race. You can see the wear is decent. As far as, well, it's more than decent. It's actually really good. But I mean, you don't have any graining, which I did have some graining on the other one. So I had graining on this one on the front, but this one I have no graining yet, and it's even all the way around. So again, I guess it just depends on how you drive, to where if you have graining or not. But it's still not major, so it's light graining. We'll see how it does again in the race when you're doing 20-minute, 30-minute stint. But again, I'm really happy with that. Mechanical. Everything here I think is good. I don't think there's anything I want to change here either. So we got 5 on the anti-roll bar, 55 on the brake bias, steering's all the way down. Springs on the front are 166,000 with a bump stop rate of 900 and a bump stop range of 3. And on the rear, the springs are 184,000 with a bump stop rate of 700 and a bump stop range of 20. Anti-roll bar is 3 and the preload is 80. So again, of course, about the only thing that we kept, I think the only thing we kept, well, one of the only things is the springs in the front. Everything else has been changed here. Shocks, which again, we probably need to go over Motec one more time, so we'll go do that. Let's go to Aero. Let's go back to Aero. Aero, we got, again, 52 in the front. Now, what I want to do is I'm thinking of going down 1 in the rear. Because, again, the way the rear end wants to slide, especially under trail braking, it just wants to do a snap oversteer in that turn 1. So I'm really, it's going to be, just keep that in mind. It's going to be either or. And again, when you, it just will come up, and so will this. So they both come up 1. So that's not bad as far as when the fuel comes down. But this comes up before this. So if you go down to like 20, if you go down to 20, see, this has come up 1, but that hasn't come up yet. So again, that might make a little bit of difference. It's actually still 7.6, and it actually goes down on your front aero variation. So that actually goes down. And it must be because the fuel is, it's the fuel is making up for it with the weight. And that's another reason, I'm thinking, well, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's a 6/2 dozen the other, as far as that goes. So I was thinking of going down 1, but I think I'll just go ahead and leave it. I'll just leave it, but just keep that in mind. You might have to go down 1 to keep that, to keep the balance, or keep it here. I want to keep it here, and then basically just going to have to keep that in mind about turn 1, and we'll show that. I'll do the lap, show the lap, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's go back to the shocks, and again, I might adjust that in the race and just see what I like over a longer run. There we go. Here we go. All right, now there you go. You got 49.8. So again, that's really good. And see, it looks like a really good, very smooth, very linear. That's just a barely over 50. Again, that looks good. That's 49. So again, that's not bad at all. I think it's good. I'll leave it. That is 51. So this needs to come down a little bit. So let's lower the right front. Probably one click each. Let's go down one on each. This is just barely over 50. So again, I'll probably leave that. This is 49.8, so almost 50. And it could use some adjustments, but especially here, I'll just go one click down. There we go. This is 50.6. And I go one click there, one click there, which this could come down a little bit here to match that. But let's see what the other is. This is a little over 50, 50.2 or something. So not bad, to be honest. This actually could come down right there. So I'll bring that down. So let's try that. But other than that, this here is pretty good. So that's about it. And again, I might check it again after the race, depending. But again, a couple small little adjustments, but nothing major. So again, we got left front 17, 17, 12, and 20. Right front 15, 15, 12, and 19. Left rear is 11, 21, 17, and 27. And right rear is 15, 22, 17, and 26. Again, all corners are just dialed in on the individual corner graph, not front and rear. I just I go off of each corner because each corner has got different parts of the track, so you never know, and corners, so you never know how the load goes on that. Again with this, with the 52 and 73, 7 and 3 and 2. Just keep in mind you might have to go down to 72, which I might try in some of the practice just to try it. But and if it does that, I just again keep that in mind. And now let's go ahead and go over the lap. And of course, I will make this a setup and put the setup link in the description. And again, all my setups are free. All my setups, I got my playlist. And of course, I do have a PayPal account in the description if you like to help support the channel that way. But of course, which anything helps. It can be any amount, and I appreciate that. It doesn't have to be. There's no minimum. But again, whether you're watching the whole video or you're liking, subscribing, all those things are support. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that does that, and also PayPal. And thank you to Mark. For special thanks to Mark for your support. I really appreciate it. He's always been a great supporter. Let's go to the replay so we can take a look. Of course, the more I drive it, I'm, just knowing what it likes and what it doesn't like. But this turn one is just, and of course it does that to a lot of cars, so you just got to be careful just the way this turn is. messed up this here again. If you just don't hit this, and I think it's just that deep, go a teeny bit deeper so you can cut it back in to get the drive. I lost about a tenth or so right through there. Yeah, a tenth of a second. Let's see what the speed is. Oh, 158 again, so that's still good. I did my best cut on that one. That's where I gained a lot of time. I gained a couple tenths right through there. Don't see any tire lockups, so that's good. See what I do here in turn one. That's 206.42. Try to go in late. It just wants to just do that oversteer, that snap oversteer. So again, which I don't like. So, something I got to be aware of and let the car, kind of like the Aston Martin, you're better off to let off on the brake completely in turn one and just let the car roll through there and get on the gas. Even if it runs a little wide, as long as you don't hit those sausages, because you get out of bounds, plus it totally makes the car upset. If you don't hit that, you're okay. Now, really quick, I want to go over some basics with the setups. So we're going to do this really quick. Again, over what category does what. Okay, so again, these are all things that coexist with each other, and the different variations of how much reaction you want. So, some things react when you make an adjustment more than others, and those are the things that you got to figure out to combine them to again make the combination work. So again, toe is mainly corner entry. Okay, that's what you're doing when you do negative toe. You're doing corner entry. Now, the flip side of that is sometimes you can get a mid-corner push if you do too much. So again, that's something that you got to watch out for. But again, that's what you're trying to do is get the car to react faster on the corner entry. Negative camber, of course, is just using the whole tire mainly. And also you can carry more speed through the corners. Usually when you have more negative camber, that's because you're using the whole tire if it's tuned properly. If it's tuned right and the car's set up, and again, that's how much is the car leaning, how much is it flexing, how much is it doing all these things, and every car is different. But, a lot of times, how much sway bar do you have to where keeping the front end stiff? All those kinds of things make differences. And, again, negative camber is a big thing. I try to run on the less side of it because as you go through the race, and especially with this car, it's probably going to hurt me a little bit because you got to turn it like a semi-truck as it is, which I don't like about the McLaren. And that means it's only going to get worse as you go on a stint. It's going to, you're going to be turning it more and more as you go. So again, you got to watch that. Of course, caster, that's putting the wheel out front. It really mainly for feeling of the car. You getting your feeling and things like that, and the steering. The more you have, I think it adds maybe a teeny bit of stability also because you're putting the wheel out front farther from the center of the axis. You're putting the wheel out farther. So, I think it does add in stability in my opinion. But, again, we're talking minor stuff here. Of course, rear on the toe is, helps the car, rotate just like the front does. So again, it's just a matter. Some cars don't mind a more, others don't. So those things you got to figure out. And the same thing with the negative camber on the rear is the same as the front, other than they don't. But you still got to tune it to where you're trying to use the whole tire evenly. I mean, that's again, you're trying to use the whole tire evenly, so you're getting maximum grip out of the tire across the whole tire, and it's not like you're saving the tires. So once they're done, they're junk. So I mean, it's you're wanting to get the best performance to use the whole tire all the way across. So I mean, and that's a lot of that. A lot of times with a little bit less camber, you're a little bit faster in the beginning of a race. If you're at the less camber in the you do have a little bit of performance advantage in the very first few laps. Um, but sometimes that also hurts later in the race. So again, it's just it's trying to find meet that happy balance. Electronics, of course, is just self-explanatory. Um, and all this, of course, number one, brake pads is also pads. One are obviously for dry. Two is for longer races. Um, I think they're good for about 12 hours, roughly, somewhere in that range, depending upon your braking. Obviously your braking makes it a lot dependent upon how long it'll last. The same, and of course, it can take rain too. Now, not I think the number three pad is better in rain, but it's just a rain pad. It's not meant for any dry. So again, it's better in the rain, but again, if you got into dry weather, you'd probably have to change them out pretty quick. And then four is so you can go out and see what it feels like when the brake pad's worn. I guess you can go out and run it, and basically in short time, you'll see what it feels like when your brake pads are shot. It simulates that. So that's what the set four is for. Mechanical, we got 5 on the anti-roll bar. 55. Oh, I already went over that. I mean, 55 on the anti-roll bar is basically for how the car moves around on the front of the car, as far as flexing and not flexing. Too stiff a roll bar, and the car will understeer. Too soft on the roll bar, and the car will rotate more on it, and you can end up losing grip on the one side. So let's say you're turning a really hard right-hand turn and you got really low sway bar. Well, it'll pitch over on the left side of the car, and that means your right tire isn't helping out as much as it should be because it's way pitching over. And so again, and of course you also lose your aero efficiency the more the car flexes or rotates like that. So it's again finding a balance. I think, to be honest, and this is not fact, it's just some of the things that I noticed. It seems like also if you run more anti-roll bar, you're more prone to graining the tires in the front. So that's another thing that you want. A little light graining is no big deal, but you can see that especially if you're doing it really fast in the stint, you're probably got too much anti-roll bar in the front. But it's a really fine balance because you definitely helps your stability and it helps with keeping both tires equal in the front as far as load. So again, it's just finding that balance. Of course, brake bias is self-explanatory. Front to rear. The more you put to the rear, the more it wants to rotate. Of course, it helps stopping in a brake line in a straight line also, but it also helps if you're trail braking. It'll make the car want to rotate faster in the back. Spring rates, of course. The more grip or less grip. But again, I really feel like this is kind of a pyramid type thing because if you go too soft, you can just say, well, let's just go all the way down to the bottom, softest you got, right? Because then that means just more grip. Well, you reach a plateau and then go down the other side because what happens is then it'll start just sliding like you would if you had too much spring. So you got to find that, again, you got to find that balance. Same, the bump stop rate's the same way. You can get grip from that with the bump stop rate. The more bump stop rate you have, it can kind of limit your spring. It can limit your grip in the front depending on the situation and depending on the corner. It's really meant for stability on the car and also like braking limits your travel and things like that. And of course, it's one is how big is the rate is how stiff is it, and the range is basically how long until it hits it. So that's how you can adjust it. And of course, there's a lot of fine tuning with that as far as both of these go together. And between the range and the rate. So again, there's a lot of things to go on with that. And of course, front to rear is totally different. A lot of times I run a more actually rate in the rear than the front, by just a little bit. But actually, the McLaren doesn't seem to like that because the back end is very reactive. So here I'm going less because of that reason. And also, of course, less on the range too. So again, well, not less. I mean, more, compared to what I do on the front. So again, these are things that you find out. And each car is different, and each car likes different things. So again, those are things. The more time you spend with that car, the more efficient you are with it. Of course, any roll bar in the rear, it just rotates the rear pretty much. It stiffens the rear end and makes the car rotate. It's mainly mid corner to off, to coming off the corner. That's where it makes you notice it the most. You can feel it too going into a corner. So I mean, again, I'm not saying that, but it's more prevalent in the middle and coming off the corners. And of course, preload on the diff. A lot of this is very voodoo type stuff. As far as you got to just play with it because every engine's different. So just because you have it at one engine is not mean it's going to be the same for the other, because the power of the engine makes a difference of what this does. So again, it's just a matter of trying to figure it out what it is for each car. And the way the torque curve of the engine is, and everything is depending upon how fast the preload of the diff locks up. So again, these are all really, it's no set thing. It's just playing with it to feel what it feels like, and so your TC isn't kicking in, but yet you're not. If you run too much diff, then what happens is you start getting a mid corner and off push and understeer. So again, those things that you got to watch. You run not enough diff, then what happens is a lot of times you wear one tire more than the other in the rear, and or when you're going through some of the corners, your TC's hidden because it's not locking up and you're driving both wheels. So again, those are things that you got to look for. Again, shocks are a real voodoo thing. I'm not the absolute best with shocks. The main thing I'm trying to do with them is to keep the car planted, to go over the bumps, keep the car stable. I mean, shocks is what keeps the contact between the tire and the road. So you're trying to keep everything going over bumps and undulations of the track to where it stays in contact with the track and doesn't lose grip. That's the main thing. I mean, it's good to run a little bit more. I like to, rebound is good as far as keeping the car from pitching here and there. So again, I try to run my rebound, especially right up at the max, just to try to keeps the car from pitching one corner to another. Plus, it also helps hitting bumps. It rebounds to where it follows it. Aero, again, this is the main one here. This is where you get the bigger adjustments as far as the balance of the car. This makes big dividends here. And if you want to learn anything, learn this, because this is probably the most important section out of the setup, because this changes the whole balance. I mean, ride height in the front, the more you lower it, the more it's going to turn. You're going to turn in faster. Okay, and the same going up. Same with the rear. The more you go up, the faster it's going to rotate, and the same going down. It's going to rotate less. Okay, but you got to take into consideration ground clearance. So you can't just go, okay, well, I'm going to run everything, run this way up and run the front way down, and then it should be faster. Because see, as we proved, I went down to try to get it to rotate more, and it wanted to oversteer a little bit too much. And then you end up burning your tires up a little faster because you're sliding and things. And so you got to get that balance right, and also with the clearance of the car and things like that. And of course, if it's a rain event, you got to make sure about that. And so just keep in mind all those things. And of course, wing is one of the biggest things. It just adds more downforce to the rear, but it does make a difference on the whole balance of the car, because if you are adding a lot of rear wing, you'll start pushing the front, and you'll start understeering on the front. So you got a lot of times add one, you got to do the other. So again, Just things that you got. And that's why when I went up in the wing, I was like, well, why don't I go down more here, and I'll balance it out by taking one click out of the rear down, but I'll go down one in the front, and that go down one in the front and one in the down in the rear, and I mean, yeah, that'll really help because now I got one click more wing, and it felt so good into the corners, but in the middle and coming off, it was getting a little bit of oversteer. So, you know, maybe some more tuning. I could maybe get some of that out. So that's something maybe to look forward to in the future that I can maybe work on to see if I can try to rebalance the car in a certain way to get that oversteer out. But again, right now it's running, good times, and it's decent for me. I run my personal best. I mean, 641, 642 is my personal best. That's pretty good for a car that I haven't even driven in a long time. So, and I haven't driven a lot compared it to the Lamborghini or the Porsche where I've driven ridiculous amount of time. So I think that's really impressive for the car, not for me, but for the McLaren, how capable it is. Um, and of course the brake ducts, everybody knows about those, about just keeping your brakes and without getting them too cold, and also keeping your temperatures more consistent in your tires. So again, those are just wanted to go over all those for people that don't really know what does. Again, it's finding that combination of unlocking the lock, so to speak, to get it to work and rotate how you want through a race, not just one lap or two laps, and keeping the wear decent. And that's where, again, like I said, we've come a long way because, I mean, now look at the tires are all completely even all the way around, all four corners. So again, those are things that you have to work towards to get balanced out right, and they pay dividends later in a stint when you're really battling and it's near the end of the race and you need all the grip you can get. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's definitely taken a long time to do, but again, these are things that I go through all the time on a setup basis, and this wasn't as bad as some other ones. Cars that I've driven, with whether it's the AMG, whatever, with the Lamborghini or Ferrari or whatever. Some of them can take even longer than this. This was probably about average, actually, or a little less. So, again, I appreciate it. I hope you join me for the race. Again, as I'm recording this, my race is tonight, actually. So I'm recording this video on a Saturday, and my race is tonight. And, of course, the race will come out later in the week. And I hope you join me for that to see how we did with our setup, to see how I can where I can finish. And even if the race doesn't go good, I'll probably have highlights or something and just talk about it. But I'll have some kind of video coming out about it. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. And again, the comments, feedback are great. I always love talking to all my sim racing friends. And again, I hope you give me a like and subscribe. And I hope you come back and visit again. Y'all take care. See ya.